Emergencies are occurrences that demand immediate response, largely targeted at safety. When you leave your home in pursuit of your daily wages, for instance, your family that you left behind expects you to return not only alive but safe and fit because you owe them that responsibility. So in recent times, the media space has been awash with a number of preventable deaths if only the accidents or happenstances had emergency responses. Perhaps those deaths would have been averted. It is an immediate systemic response to an unexpected or dangerous occurrence, and that is actually, in summary, what emergency response stands for. Do you know, for instance, that Nigeria has an emergency toll-free number? Well, the emergency response policies are focused on this edition, and that is because you need to be safe out there to be productive to yourself as a primary responsibility. I am Leah today, and on this program, we would always unveil how policies affect you. Follow our streams and videos on YouTube at Saban Media Services. On the complimentary menu, we have that education segment, Simplified Ease, and of course, reads from local markets. The policy with Leah returns in a bit. Nigeria takes leadership of the WTO Trade Policy Review Body. Let's see the details and much more from the trends table.
Ambassador of Nigeria to the World Trade Organization (WTO), Adamu Mohammed Abdulhamid, has been elected as the chairperson of the WTO Trade Policy Review Body for the 2024-2025 period. Trade policy reviews are an exercise mandated in the WTO agreements in which member countries' trade and related policies are examined and evaluated at regular intervals. Significant developments that may have an impact on the global trading system are also monitored. The federal government has launched new fiscal incentives to revitalize the oil and gas industry's contribution to the Nigerian economy and targets $10 billion in new investments in 18 months. Wale Edu, Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, presided over the signing ceremony at the Federal Ministry of Finance headquarters in Abuja. The consolidated guidance for the fiscal incentives government say are based on extensive collaboration across finance and petroleum ministries and involved several key regulatory bodies, including the Federal Inland Revenue Service (FIRS), the Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission (NUPRIC), and the Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority (NMDPRA). The Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission (NEC) has directed the transfer of regulatory oversight of the electricity markets in Enugu, Ekiti, and Ondo states from NEC to the Enugu State Electricity Regulatory Commission (EERC), Ekiti State Electricity Regulatory Bureau (EERB), and the Ondo State Electricity Regulatory Bureau (OSERB). The move is in compliance with the amended Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria and the Electricity Act (EA) 2023. Lagos, Kano, and 10 other states have reportedly finalized plans for power projects to address their own energy needs. President Bola Tinubu in June 2023 signed the law, heeding the calls of Nigerians that the power sector be reformed and removed from the exclusive list to give states the power to generate, transmit, and distribute electricity within their jurisdiction. Nigeria is targeting up to $30 billion from its inaugural foreign currency denominated bond issuance planned for June 2024. Director General of the Debt Management Office, Patience Oniha, who disclosed this in an interview with Business Day, said the sovereign domestic foreign currency issuance aligns with moves to attract more forex inflows to stabilize the naira. The local currency has suffered immensely from dollar shortages. The African Export-Import Bank, Afrexim Bank, has taken home 6 awards at the recently concluded Bonds, Loans, and ESG Capital Markets Africa Awards 2024 ceremony held in South Africa. The awards recognize Afrexim Bank's outstanding achievements in financing, promoting, and facilitating trade, and for its broadening work to facilitate sustainable economic growth and development in Africa. Afrexim Bank was recognized with Financial Institutions Bond Deal of the Year for acting as joint lead manager on the debut of $300 million senior Eurobond issuance by Mauritius Commercial Bank (MCB) in April 2023, as well as the Infrastructure Finance Deal of the Year award for its $1.76 billion loan to the government of Tanzania, issued on 30th of June 2023, amongst others. Meta, the company that owns Facebook, WhatsApp, and Instagram, has expanded its AI service, Meta AI, to 13 countries and still counting outside the United States. These countries are Nigeria, Ghana, South Africa, Canada, Australia, Zambia, Zimbabwe, Malawi, Jamaica, New Zealand, Pakistan, Singapore, and Uganda. The rollout, currently in English, aims to boost connections and equip users with new creative, expressive, and productivity tools directly within these popular apps.
The goal of an emergency response procedure is to mitigate the impact of an event on people, property, and the environment. On this episode, it is largely about the people. Dr. Chiemeziem Nwauwa is a medical doctor and an American Heart Association Emergency Cardiovascular Care course instructor. He's also a Training Center Coordinator, TCC, for both the American Heart Association and International Trauma Life Support Organization. Dr. Chiemeziem works with the Emergency Response Service as both a coordinator and an instructor. It's nice to have you in our space.
Thank you very much.
Does Nigeria have an emergency response policy?
Yes, the Ministry of Health released a policy on emergency medical services, and this was done to integrate all emergency medical services in the country and have databases of hospitals and their capabilities, and integrate both the private and the public stakeholders, both the police, both the FRS, and other people that could always come in pre-hospital emergencies. This is a work in progress, and we may not be at the optimum point, but it's really a step in the right direction.
Yeah, 2016 till now. I mean, when you say we're working in progress, at what point? Because it will seem that we've sort of lost track. I mean, with recent happenings, we've seen from the boat accident. We also saw early some days back a man having a seizure in a bus. She was filmed. We saw him online until he eventually passed on. Help didn't come. 3 hours. At what point did we lose track?
I would say this, and this is where we need to put a little bit more focus on. First of all, people need to know the services available to them. This has to do with a lot of enlightenment, and they need to know what to do before the ambulance arrives. This also has to do with enlightenment. People around, both the policemen, both the firefighters, both the federal road safety, need to be part and parcel of the pre-hospital care. So if an emergency happens, people should be knowledgeable enough to dial the emergency number. There was an emergency number approved by the federal government in 2014. That's 112.
Is it working?
Yes, it goes through. It goes through. But have Nigerians tested it enough to know if these ambulances are dispatched on time, whether they are fully equipped and they do the jobs they're supposed to do? Nigerians haven't really tested it because the awareness is not there. If you get on the street and ask a lot of Nigerians, what's the emergency number to call? They don't know this. And it's not entirely their fault, because there should be more awareness on the emergency numbers to call when you need emergency medical services.
Yes, I would agree that we really don't have that. And yes, we're seeing a rising number of persons that some are their places of work, basically, and no one knows what to do. And so you're just left out there. For instance, I can give you this. Many years back, I was in an accident, and for 3 hours I was on the scene until the road safety came, and I was actually transported with my multiple fractures at the back of a pickup. So a lot of people wouldn't survive that, So if you are there, because people who were there were just watching, taking pictures, they didn't know what to do. So if you're aware there's an emergency, what is the first thing to do?
Now, before I get into what to do, I would really advocate for more awareness on first aid.
Okay.
Because I think the federal road safety should be trained on first aid.
Okay.
Should be the first responders. With what you've described, one of the risks of what you've described is a spinal injury, and that could make somebody disabled for life. So the road safety arrives, they should be able to know what to do and know the risk factors of moving people without securing the spine. Now, for individuals, the first thing to do is to be calm. And when you approach a scene of an emergency, the first thing you want to do is you want to access the ABCs. The ABCs is so basic that you want to know, is this person breathing? And does this person have what we call a circulation? Does this person have a pulse? Now, these are the most important things to sustain life. At the level of circulation, one of the most important things in a road traffic accident is to do one thing, is to stop the bleeding. Most of the time, people will bleed out before they get to the hospital. And it just takes you applying direct pressure on that point, and these people may have a chance to life. The doctors won't treat dead people. They need to get to the hospital. So I would say ABCs are most important. This should be known by the general public. There are concepts that I feel that even a small child should know. ABC, CPR, and recognition of things like emergencies like stroke and the rest. Know what to do, like stop bleeding. These are very important. A lot of these courses have been imbibed by the medical community, just like the basic life support is now being done by most healthcare professionals.
So you guys are not many anymore. A lot have left.
Yeah, it's a lot of factors would contribute to that, but a lot are still trying to better, trying to stay back and better our healthcare system. And pre-hospital care is a new area that is being explored in Nigeria. We didn't realize the need for it, because it's when the people realize the need for it, they call for it, and the government rises to action. So now people are realizing the need for it. They're asking, what's the emergency number? What is the government doing? Now we could test all government interventions and know whether they're effective, whether they need re-evaluation.
So back then, we used to have the week after exams. We don't just go home. We get to do those. You get the police, you get the military, you get the emergency services. Just everybody come, teach you one or two things, and you're in the hall, you're learning, you're doing practicals, everybody's seeing it, you're learning how to hold the water hose. So there's just so much to do within 1 week. You get home tired and sleep. But now you don't just see that happen. Schools finish exams, everybody stays home, your your results are sent to the kids. So how do we get to do this awareness?
Okay, so there are bodies that have been at the forefront of this. One of those I must give kudos to is the Society for Emergency Medicine Practitioners of Nigeria, SEMPON. They've been advocating for these first aid trainings to go into schools. From the primary, secondary school levels, these children should know what to do. It can be brought in, just like we've said, and they have a basic idea of CPR or first aid, either from the Ministry of Health or from the local levels or from the school district levels. They put this into curriculums that are as an important knowledge for these children to work out with. I think one of the most important drawbacks of this is that the importance hasn't been stressed enough, so people don't see the need to have this done. Families should have these trainings done. churches should have these trainings done. So civil societies should have these trainings done. It's for everybody. Government parastatals should have these trainings done. When a larger number of the population knows what to do, you begin to see a difference, like what you've described about the man that was having seizures on the bus. The population would know this is an emergency, and they would know how to act, and they would know how to reach out to these services. Now, it's a different, do we need improvement in the ambulance services? Yes, there is a lot of room for improvement, but we've not tested it enough to know where this improvement should be focused on. We've not, as a community, tried to improve and request for these services, because we must request for these things from the government. The government would answer to our requests based on what we feel our needs are. When this is a front burner topic, the government will start to respond by setting up and improving on the services that are available to them. And then we would know where improvements would be necessary.
Okay, another accident is we're also having a rising number of water accidents. And it was shocking for me to see that someone was brought out of the water and was declared dead immediately and was taken to a morgue. And they said, no, there's some life in him. Instead of taking that person back to the hospital, they said, no, let's go and do some sacrifice. I mean, in such an instance, when someone comes out of water and the person is there's still some signs of life, what should be done?
Prior to the introduction of the AHA courses, that's the American Heart Association courses in Nigeria, it was introduced in 2001 by Dr. Jnr Nwauwa. There was not a lot of knowledge on what a cardiac arrest is. And the fact that a cardiac arrest could occur and this person would not be responsive. This person would not be breathing and would not have a pulse, but is not dead. So if someone saw this and it's just on the street, they'll say, this person is dead, let's take the person to the morgue. But the person may have heart activities that with good cardiopulmonary resuscitation can have a chance at life. And that's probably what would have happened. This person drowned. This person had a cardiac arrest. So this person was thought to be dead and taken to the morgue. The right step would have been to check this person's pulse. There's no pulse, there's no breathing, and it's unresponsive. And we'll begin CPR while contacting the emergency medical services. So this knowledge is widespread right now in the medical community, but not in our societies.
So for the sake of our viewers, CPR, tell us about it.
The heart, the brain, and the lungs are very vital organs, and I'll liken them to an organization. You have the administration, you have the marketers, and you have the production. Now, if I tell you, okay, there's resuscitation, knock off one department, would you be able to knock off a department? No, because if you knock off the marketing, there'll be no money. You knock off the production, what do you want to sell? You knock off the admin, there'll be chaos. So that's the same thing that happens in a cardiac arrest. Now the heart has been knocked off. So there is no supply of blood to the brain and to what? The lungs. So what would happen? These systems will collapse. Now what we want to do in CPR, cardio just means heart, pulmonary means lungs, resuscitation. So what we want to do in this situation...
heart, lung, resuscitation.
Yes, resuscitation. So all we want to do is we want to act as a manual, as a mechanical pump for the heart to sustain life, to buy time until advanced help arrives. And it's as easy as compressing the chest 30 times at the rate of 100 to 120 times per minute. That's what it is. You compress the chest, then you give 2 breaths. You give 2 breaths mouth to mouth, and 30 compressions. You just keep doing that. Or if you're fatigued, someone can take over before the help arrives. Okay. So it's as easy as that, and it has saved so many lives over the long run. And we've been advocating for this for the past 23 years in Nigeria, and AHA has been working on similar things for decades. So this knowledge would have made the whole difference in the drowning case, because I think it would have given him a chance to live. simple CPR. You compress the chest 30 times, you give 2 breaths. If you're not comfortable giving breaths, you could do what we call compression-only CPR, where you just compress the chest till help arrives. This would have made a lot of difference in this situation.
Very sad about that. I would like to also find out what are the kinds of conversation you are having with the policymakers. Is it just at the federal level, or you're talking to states to get to understand? We get to see a lot from Lagos State, for instance, but you can't say same for states. Even like where I come from, you can say same for us.
I will agree with you that there's a disparity between the development of EMS between states. And the reason for this is EMS has a lot of components that must be driven by the government, but there is also a lot of components that must be community driven. And it's for us in our locality to say we need an EMS service. We need organizations to contribute ambulances to. One of the things you could do for us is get us an ambulance. We need situations where private ambulances can be hooked up to the national grid of emergency services. So if we are in a locality and it doesn't have one, if I'm in my village and it doesn't have one, I could contribute an ambulance and it's hooked up to the national emergency grid. It's something that has to be driven by the people. We've been advocating for these EMS to be set up in states, which we've done for decades now, and a lot of improvement have been done. Like you've mentioned, Lagos, Abuja has something similar, and other states. I know Imo State set up something like that, and there are other places where this has been set up. Is there room for improvements and integration and training and capacity building? Yes. In fact, every stakeholder needs to build capacity. There has to be a conscious effort to have people on the streets trained. So we have a population that is knowledgeable, and we have officials on the road that are also knowledgeable. In fact, I think this should be driven by the firefighters and the road safety that are knowledgeable. And we have a community that is requesting emergency services. But I can't fault the system until the awareness is raised that 112 is the number to call for ambulance services.
And this is what available nationwide.
Nationwide. And this is what you must do until the ambulance arrives. There is always room for improvement, room for training, room for capacity building, room for integration of the private sector, and more government involvement in emergency services.
Okay, I most sincerely thank you, Dr. Chiemeziem.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
My name is Aldo Mekori. Keep watching the policy with Leah.
It aims to provide policymakers an opportunity to explain their policies in a way that members of the public affected by those policies can understand and engage with those policies.
Keep watching the policy with Leah.
Simplify This is next, and from there we head to the markets. For more on rates from markets across the country, do well to log on to our sister website. It is www.marketnigertv.com. We have all the details for you there. Don't forget also to follow us on our various social media platforms, Saban Media Services, and our YouTube channel. Like, subscribe, and leave a comment there because we value your feedback to help us serve you better. Till we come your way again same time next week, my name is Leah Cutting Baba today saying have a beautiful week and God bless Nigeria.